Hello and welcome to the PR Playlist Show with me, Anh Nguyễn, the show that gives you ins and outs of PR matters. In today's episode, we will have a lively discussion on the very trendy topic recently, the future of influencers and influencer marketing with my two special guests. We will be covering a range of things around influencers in the coming years, including the rise of current trends on TikTok, influencers in the world of AI, and the prediction of more regulations in the industry. Okay, now it's time for our lovely guest that I admire so much. First, let's have a chat with Chloe Wu to listen to her perspective on this topic as a client manager in an agency.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. I'm thrilled to be here and very looking forward for our discussion about the influencer marketing. About myself, has experience creating and leading interactive marketing campaigns, optimizing media performance, and utilize customer data for the marketing purpose. So I believe that I help brands to focus on what really matters to their online customers. I work closely with the internal team to propose the strategy for internal and also external digital platforms to maximize and enhance digital customer experience. In terms of influencer marketing experience, I lead the influencer marketing campaign for mostly Samsung Vietnam, UK, and Unilever.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to invite you to my show for the topic today. So, in the icebreaking question, can you share with us some of your highlighted experiences when working with influencers?
Uh, yeah. So the time when I was as a senior manager at Lebanese Vietnam, I work mostly with influencer in Asia and Southeast Asia, and the way of working with the influencer is quite immature around that time because Vietnam is a developing country and influencer is just at the beginning stage in Vietnam. So when we work with influencer, we have a lot of challenge to communicate, to brainstorm the idea, and also have a lot of challenge in terms of executions. But got through all of them. I think that now in influencer, especially in Southeast Asia, is become more professionals, and also like one of the markets that had a leading really a lot of like trends in terms of like on TikTok platform.
Yes, we cannot ignore the impact of TikTok recently. In the era of TikTok algorithm, when everyone can quickly become an influencer with only several viral videos, we know some cases in that content creators created drama for fame and that can affect brand reputation. So, what solutions for that issues? Do you think we will have more regulations for influencers to follow in the next few years?
Yeah, you're completely right. So one solution to this issue is to increase regulation of the influencer industry. This could be including creating standards for the influencer behavior and content, requiring influencer to disclose the sponsor content, and enforcing penalties for unethical or harmful behaviors. In fact, many countries have already started implementing the regulations for the influencers, particularly in the area of advertising and disclosure. For example, the Federal Trade Commission in the US require influencers to disclose the sponsor content, and failure to do so can result into penalties and fines. So some media platforms such as TikTok, they also have the TikTok Creator Fund or the Creator Code, which aim to promote the transparency and responsible content creation on their platform.
So I wanna ask you the last question. From your agency's viewpoint, what are your top tips for brands to choose the right influencer for a successful campaign?
To choose the right influencer for their campaign, brands should consider the influencer authenticity, engagement reach, and influence, as well as the brand fit. They should also review the influencer past campaigns to ensure that they have a track record of success and align with the brand value and messaging. It's also important to negotiate the term and expectations in the beginning of the project, then everyone at the same pace. So that is some top tips that we can use to work with the influencer.
Yeah, thank you for your valuable tips. But I want to hear more about a specific case, like step by step, and your criteria to find the most suited influencer for your previous campaign.
For example, one of the projects that I work with the tech company to launch the new phones. Uh, the phones belong to premium categories, and the target audience is the professional with a high income. So the way that we finalize the influencer criteria for the campaigns is based on, for example, the influencer audience will need to be aligned with the brand audience, the same like demographic, geographies, and also in terms of like aging. And then after that, we need to review in terms of like brand fit, as if that influencer they have a passionate about technologies, they up to date to the trends, or even the trendsetter. Do they have experience in terms of tech review? So that's the all the category we need to review before um, finalize criteria we want to go for the influencer. And then after that, we will review the past campaign. Do they work for the competitor before, or do they have any relative activity with any competitor in the market? Do they have any like posts or like comments in terms of product, like negative comment or product reviews of our category product before? So we need to ensure that the influencer have a clean background to work with the brand before like we reach out to start the conversation with them.
And in the next part, we will have Nam with his valuable insight as a full-time content creator.
Hello, audiences listening to the podcast. Hello, Ngọc Anh. I'm Đăng Nam, a travel blogger and food and coffee blogger on two social networking platforms, TikTok and Instagram. It's my honor to be guest on this podcast today. I only have experience working on social networks as an influencer for over a year. However, I luckily had the opportunity to collaborate with some medium to large brands in Vietnam in F&B and tourism industries. Hopefully, sharing from my side will add a new perspective to the program.
Hello, Nam. Thanks for joining me today. And I hope we will have a good time together to bring some valuable insight to the audience. So, recently, we can see the rise of unpredictable trends like the influencing on TikTok, right? So, in your opinion, how will influencers and influencer marketing evolve in the future?
As far as I know, influencer marketing itself is not a new marketing method, but has been around since the early 20th century. The grandfather of BR industry, Edward Bernay, yeah, just by creating fictional influencer women to engage more and more in the consumption of tobacco products. Rationally, smoking had never been beneficial for humans, but this media campaign is still successful. This case study can show both the benefits and potential risks when influencer marketing is used for bad purposes. Telling this story shows us that although the model was conceived a century ago and only slightly complicated by the dramatic growth of social networks over the last decade, but we still seem confused when it comes to the sanctions and rules to govern the influencer marketing model. However, it's clear that the strong and rapid increase in the number of influencers and the need of using influencers and KOLs in the communication campaigns of the brands requires clear and transparent management institutions. And yeah, update with the times.
So, today, we all know the authenticity of influencers is the key to building their trust with their followers. How will the demand for authenticity and transparency of influencers develop in the coming years?
As an inevitable requirement from the audiences as market become more and more saturated. The standards for influencers will increase, yes, and the audience will also find it more difficult to decide who they will follow in the future. Yeah, for a long time. The authenticity of influencers, especially in content collaboration with brands, increasingly become a decisive factor in determining whether influencer will survive for a long time in the market or not. Maybe the young audiences are not too fastidious, but after a few purchases of poor quality products according to the advice of influencer, they will also start to doubt the authenticity of those influencers. An influencer always need to be clear about the true value he can bring to his audiences, as well as the limits that he is not allowed to cross. A beauty blogger can recommend cosmetic products to her or his audiences based on based on their own experience, but at the same time should not promise too good results because each skin has different reaction to chemicals. And if a beauty blogger doesn't have a professional degree yet, don't try to act like a dermatologist.
Yeah, I heard you mention the market saturation for the influencer industry in the future. So, what are the potential challenges and opportunities that influencers may face from your viewpoint?
A saturated market in general presents challenges for both buyers and sellers in that market. Specifically, influencers will have to compete more with other influencers as the barriers to entry into the industry become lower and lower. Yeah, I know it's a cliche to say it, but I have to tell it. Opportunities will always be more available to those who are persistent with their goals. Listen to the market and adapt to the market change. It is relatively difficult for an insider to sell aware and have an objective view of the effectiveness of strategies. I think it will probably require a bit more luck. I have never underestimated the power of luck.
Yeah, no one can deny the power of luck. And you know, we are currently living in a world of tech advances such as AI and AR. How do these tech advances affect the way influencers like you create content? And what impact will emerging technologies have on the influencer industry?
Yeah, you know, AI and AR in recent times are technology concepts that always make listeners feel excited and mysterious. However, with a personal perspective and acceptable tools to use for content creation, I accept that in the present time, until at least the next 5 years, there will not too much change in the entire industry of influencer marketing. It is the distinct personality of each influencer that are reflected in the content that they produce that make their own marks in the minds of public. Assuming that there is a tool that can help influencers duplicate a wealth of content with their own personality traits, I'm sure that the cost of using a tool will be relatively inaccessible for most influencers. That way, in Vietnam, I can recruit students specialized in marketing or communication to support me in my work at a cost of just more than $120 per month for each person.
Alright, I'm very happy that we could cover most aspects of the topic, and I can conclude that the future of influencer marketing can be both exciting and challenging, and brands that can adapt and innovate will succeed in this ever changing landscape. So, big thanks to my incredible guests for your time and dedication. After the interview, I gained deeper insight into this topic and had positive expectations for the future of influencers. I hope my listeners can find something helpful to take away from our talks. Thanks for listening to the PR Playlist Show. Before you go, show some love for your favorite podcast by leaving us a review and like on YouTube and SoundCloud. Then stay tuned for the next week episode. See ya!